Hey guys, welcome back to INSITE. Today we have Volt in the crosshairs. After finding massive amounts of success with ITB at the major, Volt is now one of the few UK players that has made the leap to Tier 1 CS, now as GamerLegion, and has been doing very well with that. Firstly, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just came off a nice practice session with the team and ready for some question time.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, very like on the straight away. I just want to talk about GamerLegion. Like, I want to talk about your history later with like UKCS, but now just with GamerLegion, you have made some changes in the coolers. So, firstly, what were your actual decisions for changing nealan to Snax? Because nealan just wasn't really in the team for that long.
My actual decisions, or
Just like the overall, like, what was the decisions for the team to put?
I mean, can I say? I mean, it was mostly up to the staff to make the change. I don't think the players were involved. I think the decision came mostly after Pro League, maybe. I mean, no one from the team knew about it. We kind of just found out. Actually, I think we found out after Snax was signed. So, like, the whole searching for IGL process already happened by the time we knew that the change was coming, which was like it came as a shock even to, I think, to everyone. I mean, to me, it definitely came as a shock. I didn't see it coming. But yeah, you know, I trust in whatever, like Bogdan and Ash and whoever else is, they're talking with about making the roster changes. But yeah, no decision from my side at least.
Okay, that's really interesting. So, had you even played with him like at all? Was it literally just wake up one day? By the way, Snax now your IGL.
I mean, it was like that, but it wasn't on the day of the prac. It was like 2 days before. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And then, so 'cause you were talking to me before at a UK event, you were like, it doesn't feel like the whole team is on the same page. And with like nealan's calling style, would you have been wanting as an individual to potentially make a change? Did you feel like you couldn't actually like get on that page of what nealan was doing?
I mean, personally, I think especially trying to implement systems like this for new IGLs, you kind of need time. You can't just have 2 months and then like after 2 months just expect everything to work. I think Cloud9 is like a perfect example of this, where they have like insane players, or they had, because they've made changes now again. But like everyone expected them to be a super team back when it was announced, and then we saw that it didn't work out in the end. They had issues, and at the end of the day, like the team needs to, like the players need to learn how each other play, and there needs to be some chemistry formed. In this situation with nealan, I mean, maybe like for me, I wouldn't have made a change like this soon. I think it might have been a bit like too soon, but uh, if you think about it, with CS2, it might have been a decent timing if you want to try like something else. And if it did happen that nealan was in the team still, we would have started from like scratch anyway. So I think it would have been the best time to actually make a change.
Do you think a lot of teams, because we've seen a lot of these like fairly bonkers rosters being formed, do you think that is a thing now that teams are like, there's a bit of uncertainty right now in CS, let's try something a little bit unorthodox?
I think it comes off of the crazy like roster mania that happened recently, because a lot of like insane roster changes happened already before, and maybe a lot of these turned out not to work too well, and that's causing roster changes once again. Obviously, CS2 is going to have this effect as well. Players like Shiro just benching themselves. I mean, it seems random, but like I can't really imagine what the reason would be for someone who's in this super team that everyone expected to just like have an era with. Like it's like things talking about it just seems insane, because people already like getting ready for like Cloud9 to win everything and have an era and win majors and whatever, and 3 months after, Shiro, who's like arguably one of their best players, benches himself. So I think it's like proof that you can't just get like 5 really, really good players and just, expect it to work. It has to be, actual good parts in a good team.
Yeah, that Cloud9 roster not doing as well as it did shocked me. Like I was like, oh, same. Cloud9, they're the best team in the world now, and now they're a 5-man rifle squad. Yeah, like keeping on the themes of CS2, like how are you guys finding it as a squad with maybe like this weird new meta evolving of like the AWP not being as important?
I think at the start, Acor didn't really enjoy the AWP too much. He was leaning a bit more towards like the AUG and rifling. But I think recently, I've been seeing him go a bit crazy with the AWP and has some classic Acor shots again. So
Yeah.
I think he's getting. I think it's just getting used to thing. But yeah, there was this thing on Twitter. I think some guy posted that when you get shot and you're scoped in, you get aim punched. I think that's still the case, but it's a bit insane to look at. And I can understand why a lot of AWPers have been struggling recently, especially if you're getting aim punched when you're zoomed in. I think it's stupid, and I hope they fix it soon. But at the same time, the AWP is super overpowered, so maybe they deserve it.
Yeah. AWP abuse is lower them.
Yeah, and also not only that, not only is it like hard already for the AWPers because of that, you have the craziest like peekers advantage that there ever has been in this game. So holding angles, I think it's just impossible. Like you have to have super fast reactions, or you just get owned. I can see for myself a lot of times when I'm peeking AWPers, it feels pretty easy to like kill them compared to before. And then also like being on the other side with the AWP and trying to hold an angle, it feels the same. Even with a rifle, just holding doesn't seem like it's the right play a lot of times. You kind of just have to swing and peek first. You don't want to be peeked first. That's for sure.
It's crazy. And something that was I'm not sure if, and I kind of messaged you about this. You changed roles. You're playing a lot more star player roles.
Yep.
Does this update actually favor you? Like, are you fitting a little bit better into the roles now? Because like the play style that you play now in your roles, does this actually benefit you and help you fit into those roles a little bit?
I would say it's helped a bit because first of all, I think my confidence has improved with the game as well. Obviously, if I compare it to when I first joined the team, it has increased anyway. But I think with the new game as well, it has given me like a new motivation, and I feel like the game kind of suits me. A lot of people have complained about the spraying in the game and shooting, and obviously there is sometimes these situations where I feel like I would have killed them if it was in CS:GO. But overall, I don't think the shooting is too bad. Like I'm pretty fine with it. But yeah, I mean the game feels, other than the peekers thing, like peeker advantage, I think the game is alright for me. Obviously there's a lot more things to work on. But now I know people are begging for left hand and bob. I don't really care about that anymore. I'm like one of those players that has a bind that they can switch from left to right, and I like spam that a lot. I feel like sometimes if I had it, it would save me in some situations because my gun model blocks an area. But I've gotten used to it now.
Yeah, I'm a left hand type of guy, and this is killing me. But yes, but so talking about again, like kind of like the system of your team and people being on the same page. Do you feel like Snax gets you on that same page? And also, what would be the main differences that Snax has brought over to change what this team is like? So I know nealan completely changed everything, right? Like it was pretty much a whole new team. And then what's it like now with Snax?
I would say it's different styles easily. It's not like I have to like leak something with the team. You can kind of see it as well. If you compare how we played in Sydney to the other events, it's like much more explosive and a more I wouldn't say random, but it's more trying to get in your face and explosive Counter-Strike. Whereas before it was a bit more defaulty and team based. Not saying that it's not team based now, but I think it matches a bit more how the team used to play even before I joined. So maybe that would work better. But like, if I was to compare it 1-to-1, the stars are like complete opposites.
Okay, and so looking at your place in that team, I know you had, because something I'd like to touch on with you being very, like, having the communication team, like you're playing positions where you do have to maybe have some sort of voice. Is that still, and if anything, maybe a little bit more present? Because with this explosive play, like the communication has to be there with like the reads. Does that put a little bit more, I won't say pressure, but like a reliance on you to have like that communication?
On T sides, I mean, I would say on the T sides on most maps, I'm on a more lurky roles. Not on all maps, but I wouldn't say I'm like the guy up front that has to have like really good communications. Obviously, for me, it's important to relay information and call if I have a played out I want to make, or something that we should try to do like a round or whatever. So I wouldn't say it's too different for me in that sense. But I think still, compared to when I first joined the team, my communication has improved for sure.
Nice. And so playing with Snax, in regards to experience, I actually don't think you could really get anyone more experienced right now in a roster. Does this show like in and also out of the server? How does that experience portray onto you?
Yeah, I mean you can see his experience for sure. The first day of bootcamp, I was going from the airport to the bootcamp place, and I was with him because we landed at kind of the similar times. And on the Uber all the way to the bootcamp facility, we kind of like had time to chill and chat. And there was some things in that conversation that kind of enlightened me, I guess, or it was like new information about the game, and like even outside the game as well, how to like see things. And I mean, having someone as experienced as him to join and share his experiences and like bring in a new way to see the game is really nice. I mean, yeah, you can't say no to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then looking at Sydney, it was your first event with Snax. You had that break coming into Sydney, and I know you had some. There was kind of the first time maybe on the squad that you had time to practice with. How long of that break did you actually have with Snax?
So the first week that he joined, we actually played CS:GO. It was we were like thinking about whether we should play CS2, but it was like the time when people weren't really sure, and they didn't even like ESL didn't say whether they would be playing it on CS2, because there was I think some people were saying that even though CS2 would be released, we'd still be playing CS:GO, which is what happened at Pro League, but that tournament was already ongoing. Yeah. So we started off with CS:GO, and I think we had like a week and a half maybe after, or like, oh no, we had a week online, and then we had like a short bootcamp before Sydney, so maybe like 2 weeks on CS2 with Snax, with the week from before on CS:GO. But I guess the stuff that we did on there didn't really matter too much, because it was mostly just getting used to each other, and I mean the strats didn't really transfer that well to CS2, so we had to start from brand new anyway.
Wait, really? Like, wait, so right that, so like, would you have to, and do you think this was a common theme that like you had to kind of reinvent a lot of the strats?
I think you had to reinvent how you play CS as well, because as I said before, with the Pika's advantage, I think on both sides. I think T side you kind of have to abuse it more as well, because I mean in general I think T sides have been a bit more aggressive on some maps at least. You can definitely see the change in how teams are playing it. On Mirage at least, it's kind of the hell being on A. You have people jumping out of ramp and out palace, and it just feels impossible to hit people. I don't know. Even when I'm swinging out palace, sometimes I feel invincible, and I just shoot people and they don't shoot back. But if you look at it from their point of it, you can't really blame them. It just feels hard. And yeah, with that, I think teams are trying to implement just also this explosive and aggressive style to make use of the Pika's advantage, and also on the CT side as well, playing a bit more aggro also, and not just letting them. I mean, you can play more passive and let them come into you, but most of the time you also want to make the moves because just holding an angle, it sometimes just doesn't work.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so going into Sydney then, you guys didn't do bad. Like, you had I'd say a fairly decent result considering the little tower price for Snax, first team to beat, or the only team to beat FaZe in an official. What was maybe the biggest reason that you guys struggled at Sydney? Was it just not much time with Snax? And has any of those issues that have come about while being on LAN changed?
I wouldn't say we didn't have enough time. I wouldn't put it down to that.
Okay.
I would say the playing field is pretty even across all the teams. Even though we had the new IGL, like I would assume that every team pretty much had to start from scratch and build their own way to play the game. And we also entered into the tournament with confidence and obviously not too high expectations, but expecting us to do at least pretty well because new game and everyone trying to find out how to play essentially, because I think even now we're seeing new things every single day, almost new metas, new smokes, new moves popping up. So going into Sydney, we knew that we could beat everyone and everyone could beat us. The results would be pretty random. I think the preparation was all right, to be honest. We had our map pool was pretty decent going into it. We did manage to pull a surprise pick with Nuke against FaZe because we didn't play Nuke before, and that was one of the changes with Snax. So I mean, it worked pretty well. I think the second time we might have stretched it a bit, trying to go for Nuke again on the third map, because I think after playing FaZe in that best of 3 in Nuke, they played another 10 nukes, and I think they lost only once since then against ENS. So we pretty much took them on their best map. We beat them the first time, but the second time it wasn't as pretty. I think the fact that we even got close to at least winning it, it could have been a 2-0, I think. That best of 3 against them is still pretty nice. But I think the takeaway from that tournament for me is that we can do pretty well in the next upcoming tournaments that we have now. And I'm super curious to see how we do, because I don't think we had a chance to really show much in Sydney.
Yeah, from my perspective of GamerLegion's, there has just been a lot of setbacks since the major, roster changes, kind of struggle with the structure with nealan, and then a captain change. That is a lot, and you haven't had much chance to show yourself, and that kind of leads me on to the point about online tournaments. Of I was certain you guys would be in one of Thunderpick or Rubet, or maybe even just something, but you guys have only played LAN. You haven't played any online tournaments. What's the general reason for this? Are you just focusing on practice?
I think the team's focus right now is just playing as many of these LAN events as possible, and especially the tier 1 ones, trying to stay away from CCT, I guess. Personally, I would like to have played maybe something online. The only thing with, I think, was it Thunderpick? So it's called. That one came shortly after Sydney, and we had already decided before that we would take a break from playing. So yeah, I mean, we didn't play that. And then Rubet, I don't even know if we had an invite for that one. So
it was literally before.
Was it before? Yeah, I mean, I think the scheduling kind of sucked as well to get into those tournaments. But yeah, so far it's just been on LAN, and it's gonna be on LAN for the rest of the year, from what it looks like. Maybe next year we'll start looking into something online, but for now it's just LAN.
Yeah, which probably benefits you guys because playing on LAN is just easier on CS2 from what I can gather.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I can confirm that it does feel much nicer on LAN. Going online was not a nice shift after Sydney.
Like, did you see the twist clip from Thunderpick of where he got a kill? And like,
on Vertigo.
Yeah, on Vertigo. Bro, like I was casting that exact moment and I went, wait, what? They've won the round? There was one more player alive. Wait, Twist got a kill there? I was like, when did that happen? It was crazy. But kind of drawing actually back to Sydney for a second. I want to talk playing in front of the Australian crowd because you played in the show match for the UK and you guys lost. Like, come on, you lost to Australia. But what was it like playing actually in front of the Australian crowd, which was, I think, mostly regional, mostly all Australian fans, in comparison to playing in front of Paris, which would have been largely a more international crowd?
Okay, well, first of all, I got booed twice now. Played 2 arena games and I've been booed both times. For some reason, I'm just always matched up against the team that's home crowd favorites. So that's not great. I mean, obviously the atmosphere is great, and I'll say that the Sydney crowd, honestly, they were kind of matching the Paris one, even though like it was much smaller because the location where it was where the tournament was, like it wasn't as big as the arena in Paris. So I mean, in terms of how loud and hyped the crowd was, I would say it was like up there, maybe even the same. I can't remember, but it was just super loud, and I know that you know, everyone was with the other team once again. Nothing new. But I mean, I really enjoyed it. After the Paris tournament and getting a taste of it, I think I mentioned that I want to get back to it again. And I think show match is great and all, but at the end of the day, I kind of want to do it again with my team and playing actual serious game. Which we did have the opportunity like twice in Cologne and now Sydney. Very close, 1 map away both times. But I think we'll get back there one day.
Yeah,
I really want to.
You guys probably will very soon at some of these events. But what's it like you were saying? Yeah, it's like you've mentioned now twice being like, okay, these events are quite like it's a big deal playing from the crowd. How would you then basically just like almost at the next week be like, right, back to online CS?
Yeah, I look back and I think like I'm sitting at the desk and I'm just imagining like looking over and seeing a massive crowd, and then instead of just like my wall there, and it's just like the difference is just insane to think about how one moment you're like on the stage playing in front of like thousands of people, and then the next is just complete silence, and you're back in your room where you started and trying to reach that point again.
It must make it, yeah, 'cause as you said, like you've kind of gone through your whole career at that desk. So it's kind of surreal to come back and just rein it back in for a second. That's very interesting.
And also, I just want to say, I think it was for the best that we did not win that show match, because I wanted to get out of that arena in one piece, right? And I don't think beating Team Australia is the way to do it. So you know what? They can have it.
Yeah, maybe for the best.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys had to play with Henry G and Hawker. Like, you had 2 washed cards in the team. You guys were never gonna win.
That was good. It was a weird show. I don't know if in the arena they couldn't hear it, but for some reason they made it so that every bullet in the game was a USB shot. So the AWP was a USB sound, the rifles are a USB. We didn't have like the normal sounds, so it was like super throwing me off whenever like someone was shooting, because it just sounded like a little USB sound. Yeah, it was weird.
It's just such a troll. I do actually like these like those summer show matches. But you were mentioning about the LANs. Like you have, so if anyone who doesn't know it, you as GamerLegion literally have back to back LANs in 3 different countries, and then Atlanta. Like you're literally traveling different continent. It's a lot of traveling. But just looking at the results kind of at those tournaments, do you have, I don't know if it's pressure, but just expectations to what those events, because obviously they're not tier 1, they're kind of like 1.5, 2-ish, and GamerLegion as an organization haven't really had like a serious result. As you're saying, like you were very close to having those big results, but you were kind of then like on the outlier of like not making the playoffs. Are these tournaments something that you're aiming to do quite well in? And if not, potentially win at least one of them?
I think the goal is for sure winning one of them. Like it's a pretty big expectation I think the whole team has. We've had like all of these events already, and obviously, realistically, like winning those wasn't like on the radar. Like making playoffs is more of the thing we're looking for. But now looking at these three, I would say winning one at least. That's like something we need to do. And they give us a good opportunity to win one of them. Like with the teams that are playing at in each of them, obviously they're not the easiest, but we have like a pretty decent chance, I would say. I think Eliza's a bit more difficult. We have like higher ranked teams, but the challenger events, especially since they're basically pro league qualifiers, it makes them even more important. So not only just winning one of these, but also getting into pro league would be huge for us.
Like I remember when I was looking at some of these tournaments, and I was actually just quite impressed by how there are some very strong teams in this tournament. Like it's they're actually, especially the one in GamerLegion's, don't know how, I can't pronounce it, but like it's like the competition is pretty big. There's only one team that's the top 30, for instance. But looking at then I was talking about the travel. Like if you make a deep run in the first one in Sweden, you then have literally straight away travel to Espoo and then at Espoo. What is the preparation on both parts, yourself and as a team, for traveling these long period of times, probably not having much time to practice in between these events as well? What are the general preparations for you guys coming into events like these?
I wouldn't say we've really done anything preparation specific to playing back-to-back events. We're trying to fit in like all this like in-game stuff before, just doing as much as we can. We have a bootcamp coming up as well to really get into the things before we go into the tournaments. So I think that's going to be the main preparation. Once the first tournament starts, we won't have any time to fix things for the next one. So I think the next bootcamp is going to be very important for us to make sure that we've ironed out everything and we have our map pool sorted. But I think, like honestly, for me, the traveling and going from one event to the next, like back to back, isn't the worst thing. Like I like it because I want to play as much as possible, and they're all LAN events, so they all matter a lot. If online events, like they kind of just go over each other, you kind of forget what they are. They mix. But with LAN events, they're all like unique and they feel more important. And for me, at least, still I haven't played too many LANs, so each one is just extra experience for me. And I'm just looking forward to just playing as many as possible. Honestly, if I had to, I'd play even more events back to back, but I don't think it would be the right idea.
Yeah, it's kind of the classic of being like, yeah, I could do this all day, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe not after a while. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it gets tiring. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
But right now, I just want to play officials, and no online officials kind of just makes you miss it. Just because obviously just practicing, it gets a bit repetitive eventually, and you just want to play something that counts or matters. So yeah, just get me in on the server already.
That's good to hear. And something that, when you spoke to me with UKCS Go I Series, you mentioned that your reputation and kind of everyone's at the ITB squad when you got major, it got boosted massively because you made top 8. Do you feel like this adds a little bit of pressure onto yourself to uphold that reputation, that you did actually just garner a sign where it's like everyone's like, oh, he's good, he's made top 8 major? Like, do you see that at all? And especially coming to the events, do you feel like you have to do a little bit better because of that, or is that not really a thing?
I wouldn't say it's a thing. I'll say I feel more confident about myself with that. But like still, sometimes I forget about that for like the major run and everything, because it still doesn't feel as real even now looking back on to it. I think every stage of making it to that point at the major didn't feel real. I think from the open qualifier into the close qualifier into the RMR, from the RMR to the legend stage, and then from legend stage to the playoffs, I think every single stage just felt like unreal to have managed to do it. And now I think it's been like half a year since the major. I don't know. It feels like it was someone else, and it just unreal, really.
It must have been a very surreal experience, because every way you had a lot of like, you literally didn't make like the playoff stage, you know, like you were 0-1 down to FNATIC and you'd lost your map pick, and I was there, I was like, wow.
Yeah, that happened.
I was like, well, they don't make it to playoffs, and it's like that. Yeah, it's and I guess we could probably talk about ITB a little bit now, because I remember, and it's something that stuck with me actually for a while, because I feel like it was a really wholesome quote. I remember when I spoke to you just before you went onto stage, and your exact words were, "This feels like I'm in a third person. It feels like I'm in an out-of-body experience, and I'm not real." Could you just put into words of what it was like at playing at major players? Like, I know your parents were there, for instance. Like, you were playing with a lot of UK fans around you, and also on a UK team. Like, how? Like, what was? Could you try to put into words like what it felt like to play at that stage?
I think like a couple of weeks ago, I actually went on the Blast website because they still have all the matches saved, so you can watch them back. And I was just flicking through them and just seeing how it was. And like from what I remember back then, just when we had to come onto the stage or like walk to the middle where like the circle was, standing behind the screen and just hearing like the whole crowd just screaming and roar, like obviously booing because, you know, Vitality, whatever. First ever experience on stage getting booed. It is what it is. But just the noise level, and once like the screen lifted, seeing like the whole arena full of people and flashlights, and I don't know, I think it's just so much that it just, I don't know, just blends in, and it's just one big thing, and you can't like, you kind of forget that there's a lot of individual people that are actually watching. But yeah, I don't even know. I can't put it in words, to be honest. I think I said it's something that you have to experience yourself to be able to understand it, and explaining it to someone and making them feel what you felt isn't really possible. But yeah, also the UK corner that we had, it was like, for me, because I was like sitting on the left hand side, like not facing the middle of the arena, so I didn't see as much, but I was facing pretty much the UK corner, like I don't know how many people it was, like maybe 50 or 50 people, like against the whole arena trying to go against the French fans. But it was nice to see like UK flags and people cheering for us, and especially since they were close to us, we could actually a bit hear them when they were like cheering. I think there was one round specifically on Vertigo when Cypher was saving, and I could hear them like chanting his name, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just super nice to hear. But honestly, I didn't expect the turnout of like UK support to be what it was. Even though it wasn't that much, I think it was still way, way more than I expected. And I appreciate the people that did that. Yeah, I think it helped a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, because we've actually had this conversation about like fan bases within like UK and Romania, and like the UK just doesn't really have his fan base. And I was also very surprised to see that we had it wasn't many, but it was enough, and they were making some noise, and the chants were very, very funny. It was actually really amusing, like hearing those chants. But I like talking about that major. You guys took everyone by surprise, and coming up to the major, you guys were struggling a lot online, and it seemed almost impossible that you guys were going to continue like consistently making success. How were you able just to, at the RMRs, do well at the legend stage, like still like really do well? Like, was there a sign that you guys, was it just like vibes? Were you just playing on like on another level? Like, what was it?
For some reason, our online and our LAN performances didn't match. We were like far better on LAN for whatever reason. I think maybe the vibes were more, people felt the game a bit more because we were next to each other, and you know, the atmosphere and the energy was really high at all times. So like, yeah, like as you mentioned, our online results weren't as great, and the fact that we were able to make it from the close qualifier to the RMR, which was on LAN, was like pretty important and huge for us, because that then allowed us to get the LAN boost and make it further. But like, even how long? I think I was at ITB for 3 months, maybe. So that's already. I think I've been at GamerLegion already the same amount of time that I've been in ITB. So we didn't, even by then, we didn't really have that much time together, you know. I think it was a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks since the team was formed, that we played in the open qualifier that got us to on the whole run. So I think that was also another roster that maybe needed more time, and also there was other factors like Thomas being new to IGLing, and us just being like 5 random players put together and trying to make it work. So maybe the online results kind of made sense in a way. We didn't like we didn't have enough time to get things like 100%. But I think, I mean, when the team was formed, I remember the goals were kind of just winning Premiership and also, I think, top 30. Yeah, it's funny now because those just seem nothing compared to what happened in the end. But yeah, like we did get the Premiership in the end, and I mean, top 30, we got it from the RMR itself. But yeah, I think right after the major, we went back online again, and the results didn't look too great once again. But yeah, there must have been some LAN buff or something. I don't know. Cypher's PC was on his last legs. He was playing 50 FPS or something. I don't remember exactly, but there was a bunch of things that made online a bit hard.
Yeah, I literally remember speaking to someone at the like I think it was your owner, and it was like they were having a conversation about like, is there any sponsor we can get that we can give Cypher a PC, because he is literally not playing on anything right now. And I was like, wait, what? It's like, how's that happened?
You saw what he carries his peripherals in, right? the famous Tesco bag.
The amount of people that were like seeing me in an ITB jersey and be like, oh, could you go give them this Tesco bag to sign? I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was carrying like 4 Tesco's bags at one stage, being like, here goes it.
Wait, that's insane.
Could you all sign these, please? And everyone was like, okay. I was like, here's one, second, third, fourth. And then I was like, DM people like, I've got your Tesco's bag. Like, I was just so confused. But it was the most UK thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. But you were talking about kind of like maybe like unable to maintain the success. Was there that ability or like mentality that like you made this big leap and you guys did sign that was truly quite miraculous, but that was like a one-off peak? Like, did that kind of feel like maybe that was the case for ITB?
I mean, you can't really say that making playoffs at the major isn't a peak for a team that was aiming to reach top 30 and winning Premiership.
Kind of like that area, you get what I mean? Like, just do it consistent.
Yeah. Maybe our performances online might have been the mentality that we had playing online games, which wasn't as strong as on LAN. As I mentioned before, just I mean, playing on LAN is much more different because it feels like everyone just gives 20% more than they would online, and I think that 20% more was what was pushing us to do really good, especially with how we were playing in that team as well, with Cypher and his doubly up ramp on Vertigo, and I think just in general we were a super aggressive team. And obviously when you play aggressive and you have confidence, which we had a lot of it for some reason on those lands, it can do magic, and that's what it did for us at the major.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And just look at like UKCS as abroad, like ITB, you guys did something that was the first time we'd seen a UK team achieve something like truly quite great, literally since Rattlesnake. I think since his mouse sports team in like 2008 or something like that, in like Source or whatever it was. Like, this was the first time we'd actually seen something from the UK team. did you guys feel like this was maybe you gave a boost to UKCS, a boost that was needed to bring a lot of people and also give them something to identify that was like, I can actually do that, and it's the first time a UK team's done that.
Yes, I would say it gave people, I guess, more motivation, and it gave them something else other than just endpoint, winning Premiership and just being the top of the UK scene all the time, because I think that's what the case was for a very long time. I don't even know what it's now. I think is Raptors better than endpoint? I'm not even sure anymore, to be honest. It's very confusing. I don't think endpoint have been too great recently online either. And they did lose the Premiership to Raptors, which kind of, I don't know, like makes them seem not as strong as they might have been before. But I think us making the playoffs kind of just put a new level for people to aim for and try to reach. I think before, I'm not sure how far, maybe like I think the RMR was
RMR
the furthest.
Before once.
Yeah, so the RMR was the peak, and there was just one team. But at that RMR that we played, there was actually 2 UK teams at once. So it was already crazy enough that 2 teams were able to do it. And then you're going further, just it kind of just set the bar even higher at every point. But yeah, maybe people are more motivated, and they have like this belief that maybe since like they know us, they feel like they can also do the same thing, and they'll try to work harder and reach the same goal as we did.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's just really hard. Even for us, like if you were to put us on the same run, I don't know, like 10 times, I don't know how many times out of those 10 times we would actually do it. So yeah, it's hard, I think.
Yeah, and I honestly think that's fair enough. It was a Cinderella run, and the song that I was you were at university during all of this and still are. Firstly, that's insane, and secondly, how are you able to maintain doing university? Like you've been, well, you're like your third year, your final year, you're doing computer science, which is a fairly hard degree, and you've been kind of playing like full time pretty much all around this. How have you been able to maintain both of those?
I'm not, first of all. Yeah, I can't just sit and lie and say it's easy, because yeah, as I told you, last year I had to interrupt the uni year because they just couldn't work with the major. My exam was on the same day as the playoff match against Vitality, and you cannot be in. I wasn't even in the country for the exam. I couldn't do it, even if I was to run to the exam center in the morning and then have the game in the afternoon. It was just impossible, and they wouldn't allow me to change the date for the exam, so I had to just interrupt the year. And also, I mean, it wasn't going great already because I had to commit a lot of time to CS because how things were at that point. But yeah, now we're back to it, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Good luck to me.
I wish you the best. I know exactly how it feels to do university well. I can tell you, it's not easy. Yeah, but I want to just for the end now, just bring it right back to the grassroots of UKCS. When I first would have come about you when you were playing on the good old days of UMX and Vexed and the Coalesce teams, and I want to say right off the bat, you have played with some serious IGLs in your career within like the UK sphere. Of like you had docs and then artists that kind of back to back on the Vex team, and then UMX Fanbit, whatever you want to call it. Was it actually quite impactful for you that you had like one of these bigger IGLs, that you didn't just have some like random guy, like you gotta have had our 2 main IGLs in the grassroots scenes, your first IGLs? Like, was that impactful for you starting your career?
Yeah, I think at every point in my career, or like every team that I joined, or every IGL that I played with, as you said, I've learned something, or I got something from them that even now, like I might be using, or it was the first time that I found out about it, and it's still something that I'm doing. Obviously, with docs and artists, as you said, they even nowadays, like they have like the teams that are at the top of UKCS, and they both call very differently, I'd say. I don't think anyone calls like Artis does. I think me joining that team, it opened my eyes to a very different playing style. That's what. Okay. Before I joined them, they were playing a very different playing style. But when I joined, they kind of toned it down a bit. It wasn't as crazy as the UMX back in the days. They started playing more, I don't know, smart. I don't know if you even can call it that. More relaxed and laid back. I think I kind of brought it with me, like playing more relaxed. Maybe I kind of had like a small influence on them changing how they played. But yeah, if you look at docs and if you look at artists, their teams just don't play the same, So for me, playing under them, I had very different, very unique things to learn from both, like styles of playing CS, super aggressive and like more passive and team based. And with docs, when I was playing in that team, that was my first, I guess, proper team that I played in with practice, and I'll say under him I learned most of the stuff at the beginning, and I think I improved a lot and very quickly. If I was to look back at how I was before I played with him, and then after I played with him, it would be very like different players. So I think both of those two guys I have a lot of credit to give for helping me improve.
That's good, because that was actually like 3 years ago, and the fact that you had a good leader start, I think, in my perspective, sets you up really well for the future. And so I want to ask about UMX, and I don't think I don't know if this is true or ours is just waffling to me. Was there a period where, when you guys first made HLTV, that you were sent YouTube VODs of different FURIA players? You were each given a different player, and it was, go learn this, and that's how we're going to play. Is that correct?
They used to do it a bit more before I joined, but I think, I don't remember, but I think maybe a few times. Was it? I don't even know anymore. I think they kind of stopped it when I joined, but before that, they definitely did. Because I think at the point that I joined, they started to not play as much as like FURIA. Before I joined, it was pretty much just taking the FURIA demo and just every player watches this person and they just copy that. That's what I think it was, from what I was told. After that, I think I moved to Gambit. I think we started taking it from Gambit. We weren't copying it like as closely, or we weren't just watching VODs and just being like, yeah, you play this player, you play this player. It was it was less of that, but I can confirm there was VOD watching and role setting.
I just find it so funny that you guys made like top 80 in the world doing that, or like to some degree. It's just so funny to me. But when I first spotted you guys, you broke out the UK scene on UMX and kind of like Coalesce. This was a period where I not many teams were doing that, and you were the first for a while that actually like were playing HLTV officials, aside from Endpoint, aside from, well, that was it pretty much. Why do you think back in 2021 you guys were so unique to doing this, and maybe in the UK scene it's a little bit more consistent that we're actually seeing teams do that?
Now, yeah. I didn't remember, to be honest, back then. I think with Coalesce, under Coalesce was actually my first LAN that I played. The Epic LAN.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Epic LAN. That was the first one, which we won. And then we had the other one. It was the Sigma one in Malta. That one was a pretty crazy one to win, because we had stand-ins. Right, like a week before that event, we made a roster change, and we changed Timo. And then at the same time, I think it was Giraffe couldn't play because his passport was expired or something, so he couldn't travel. It's crazy. No, it wasn't expired. He didn't have a passport. He had to get a passport. He never had the passport, so he couldn't travel. So we needed 2 stand-ins for that event, and we went there with 2 stand-ins, and we somehow won it. That was the first time I played with Ping as well. He came in and helped us for that event, and I think looking back, it was insane that we managed to win it with how it with the situation. I think we had 1 or 2 days before just to show the strats to the players, and then we went there and somehow it worked out. Even I don't know how. And I think that's that tournament had the biggest trophy I've ever seen.
Huge.
It was huge. Yeah. It was half of my body. But yeah, it was a nice experience. It was my first LAN. It was second LAN, but my first LAN outside of the UK. So obviously it was a huge experience for me as well. But I don't even know. I don't remember why or how we started doing that good in Coalesce. In UMX, it wasn't that long that the team was in UMX. I think it was a month or something after I joined. And then in August, we joined Coalesce until the end of the year. But I think we had 2 advanced players, and one of them we managed to get into relegations, which also boosted us quite a bit. The relegations, we played it under Fanbit, so that was after Coalesce. And it's a bit weird because it was the same team, but we just kept changing names all the time. It was UMX and then the Coalesce and then it was the Zoo for some reason at one point. I don't know why they put that name. I was on holiday, and now on my Wikipedia it says I played in the Zoo. I never played an official in the Zoo. And then it was Coalesce, and then yeah. I didn't see it removed because it looks weird. The Zoo, yeah. And then Fanbit. Do you even know what Fanbit is from?
Gambit?
Gambit. It was family and Gambit because we were a family. Remember what artists always said? We're a family, and then it was just family Gambit. Yeah. So and that was the time when we were trying to play Gambit as well. So that was the origin of Fanbit. I think Fanbit was just before I joined FNATIC Rising. But yeah, we played under a lot of names in that team. And I mean, we had some good results. As you said, we had more than the average games on HOTV than other UK teams. We had more frequent appearances. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
And also,
yeah,
I think due to that, or having the opportunity to play so much in HOTV, it also made me more visible to teams like FNATIC Rising who approached me, and that kind of gave me the boost to go further, I guess.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember around that time because you I keep on saying UKCS. You are Romanian. I'm just claiming you as UKCS, but you had an offer / thought about playing for Romanian teams. Was this something that you ever were okay, this is a legit thing that I might play in a different regional scene?
Okay. The thing with the UK scene, I've started in the UK scene. I've pretty much always played as a UK player. Right, I did. I can't say I do anymore, but I've never the Romanian scene never really. I didn't make use of the Romanian scene to go further. I was always in the UK scene. I played at UK LANs. I didn't really associate with the Romanian scene, so I even playing Romanians, I don't think I really have had much playing time of Romanian players. So for me to join a Romanian team would be a bit weird because obviously I've always come in English, and at the same time, obviously there's different callouts in Romanian which I am not familiar with because I haven't played with any Romanian players and I haven't played in Romanian teams. So it would just be it would have been a bit too crazy of a transition to join Romanian Romanian players. and I don't know how I would have if I would have been comfortable in it or if I would have gotten used to it, because obviously playing from the start with English comms and in UK teams, going into Romanian, even though I speak Romanian like really fluently, I speak it at home, everything. It's just different in game.
Sure, yeah.
And getting used to it, I don't know, it would have felt a bit off. So, yeah.
That makes sense. I can understand that. And just talk about FNATIC Rising very quickly, because I'm very conscious of time. I was going to keep on the theme of just academy leagues as a whole. That isn't really a thing anymore. We still see a lot of academy teams, but they don't have those leagues to play in. Would you want to be seeing an academy league brought back? Because did you feel like it was a big stepping stone in your career? And do you feel like it was a stepping stone that a lot of players needed to actually put themselves in the spotlight?
Yeah, I think it's pretty sad that the Academy League hasn't had another season since I think it was the sixth one.
Yeah.
But it's with like the reasons obvious why they cannot continue it with the war. It's just not doable for them. But I would say for me it did help like a lot, having had the opportunity to play in an academy team. Also that it was FNATIC. It was my first like, I guess, professional org to be under. So it was like obviously a new experience for me, and I in that team I also learned a lot. I think it was my first EU team, if I'm correct. So I had the opportunity to play with like people from other countries, just rather than just the UK. And every scene has like its own like skills, I guess, and you can like learn new things from players from other countries. I think in that team I also got to develop a lot as a player. It made me a very different player to how I was before when I was playing in Fanbit. I think especially in terms of communication, I improved a lot in that team, I would say. I learned like how important communication in the game was and how I can be better at it myself. I also had like a taste of like better roles when I played in FNATIC Rising, because in the Fanbit Coalesce team, I was more of a rotation player, because Artist, as the IGL and the AWPer, he cannot be in the rotation role, so it was mostly me filling. And also like sometimes anchor positions as well. But then in FNATIC Rising, I started playing more of like ramp on vertigo or A overpass, like these other more high impact positions. So I mean, there was a lot of new things that I learned in the academy team, and it kind of pushed me to try other parts of the game as well, rather than just what I was used to before. I mean, I think it's really sad that the Academy League isn't there for like all these academies to try to race against each other again to win it. I think it was nice to have before, because even the way we played it as well, it was different to how all the rest of the tournaments were. It was more like, it just had a different vibe to it. Even the stream and the overlay, I don't know, it just had the academy vibe. I don't know how to explain it.
I get what you mean,
which is great.
Yeah.
But what I found surprising is that even with replay not continuing and some like orgs stopping their academy programs, like FNATIC, there's still a lot of orgs that have academy teams, and orgs that are even getting academy teams as well now. I think, GamerLegion, Monty, like a lot of orgs are getting academy teams now. So I guess like there might even be more teams than it was before to fill in a replay or like any academy league from if someone else or another organizer wants to take over. But yeah, right now it's not possible with replay because of the war. It would be really nice to get it back. I think for players that are in the same situation that I was at that point before getting a chance to play in a academy team. I think Gizmi is in one.
Gizmi's in Monty now,
Monty guy.
and I think Leaf is rumored potentially be in the game
Rumored.
one.
Oh,
Rumored.
interesting.
Rumored.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's good exposure. Kind of, you can use the platform of the org to put yourself out there more, and you have like, since the orgs are like more well known, you have the opportunity to get more HLTV showings, and potentially the main team can try to give you some tips and help you out, and even stand in for the main team if they need a player. That's happened a lot in the past. I think who was it? Oh, Pepzor stood in for FNATIC, and they won. Yeah, they won the last Eliza last year. So I think that's like the best thing you can get out of being an academy player. So yeah, I mean, the academy teams are great. It's just not everyone has to be in an academy to progress, but it's good to help you get to where you want to be faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, vacancies in Sprout Academy.
I mean, there's a lot more UK players now joining academy teams. That's for sure. Which is nice. Yeah, it means the talent pool is more spread out, and it's not just the same players. It's just one or two. It's actually a higher number and different names that are showing up now.
Yeah, we're slowly infiltrating every scene. Slowly.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get a team yourself, you might as well just get individual players across, and then maybe one day they'll form together and make a team for their own scene. I think the Israelis were talking about that. You have like all of these players like Spings and Exertion and Nerds. I think they said that they would want to one day play together, but with how their scene is, for them it works better to just be spread out individually than to just be in a team together. So I think the UK scene is kind of similar in that sense. So yeah, for now we just have to spread out, and then maybe one day merge back in.
Yeah, I know. Speaking to Spray, the Israeli coach, he was like, everyone's plan, and it's been spoken about, is that in like however long, at the end of kind of everyone's career, they're going to try and create a mix and just see if they can make the major from the, I think it'd be Asia Pacific, that region, which is very doable. Very doable. But just, this is something that I was speaking to you about before. There's a question from a Mr. UKCSGO, Mr. Daffyd of UKCSGO. This is a question that he wanted me to ask you, and we're going to end it on this. For Christmas, you can ask for one thing from another player. For example, the crosshair placement of Bit or the flicking of Simple. What would it be and why?
One specific thing with the player. I can't just like take everything from them.
You could, I mean, a boring answer, but like, yeah, I guess you can do that.
Well, if I could, I would just take everything from Donk, because that guy is like, I don't know, he's got some aimbot in his hands or something. I don't know. His brain is like wired to have like inhuman decision making, and I don't know what's up with him. But if I could take everything, I would just take everything from him. But I think if I was to pick something specific, I think Rops's like crosser placement is like pretty insane. So I might go for that, just not to be too boring and say Donk. I think everyone would pick Donk these days. He's quite hot. So yeah.
However, you did beat Donk in the Season 5 finals. So with all that in mind, I think you're actually better than Donk, and that's a perfect way to end it. Vol, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I wish you the best of luck with GamerLegion. You've got a very strong end of the year coming up, and hopefully we can see you guys lifting a trophy at one of those events. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll make sure to see you next week for another episode of In The Crosshair on INSITE. Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.